Today we will discuss about nervous regulation of respiration. There are two types of regulation of respiration. First one is nervous regulation, second one is chemical regulation. So let's discuss about nervous regulation. There are two types of nervous regulation. Mainly, what is respiration? Respiration mainly is a physiological process by which oxygen is transported from atmosphere to the cell and elimination of carbon dioxide from the cell to the atmosphere. And rhythmic breathing. Mainly, nervous control of respiration causes rhythmic breathing at a regular interval of time. Mainly, rhythmic breathing means inhaling and exhaling of air at a regular interval of time. And nervous mechanism or neural mechanism mainly control this rhythmic breathing at a regular interval of time. So, mainly I have told that neural control of breathing has two types. One is voluntary and another one is autonomic. So voluntary control is under cerebral cortex of our brain. From cerebral cortex, nerve impulses sent to respiratory motor neurons, mainly located at the cervical and thoracic segment of spinal cord by corticospinal tracts. Then these impulses from respiratory motor neurons innervate inspiratory muscles, which causes inspiration voluntarily. Secondly, we will discuss about autonomic regulation of respiration. To know this type of regulation, we have to know respiratory centers. So what are the respiratory centers? Respiratory centers are mainly group of some neurons which mainly control the rate and rhythm and also force of respiration. There are two groups of respiratory centers. One is medullary, second one is pontine. As respiratory centers are mainly located at the medulla and pons of the brain. Medullary respiratory centers are dorsal respiratory group of neurons, ventral respiratory group of neurons, pre-Borginger complex, and pontine centers are pneumotaxic and aniostic centers. So we have to know what are the functions of them. Medullary centers. First one is dorsal respiratory group of neurons. Mainly, they has intrinsic ability to generate its own impulse without any stimuli. And basic rhythm of respiration is mainly generated in this group of respiratory neurons. And mainly it causes respiration. Second one is ventral respiratory group of neurons. So, mainly ventral respiratory group of neurons have both inspiratory and expiratory neurons. But it should be mentioned that inactive ventral respiratory group of neurons during quiet breathing. Mainly they are active during increased or forced breathing, especially exercise-induced expiration. So, normally ventral respiratory group of neurons cannot function in maintaining or controlling rhythmic breathing or initiating respiration, inspiration or expiration. But dorsal respiratory group of neurons mainly causes quiet breathing, causes inspiration, as this group has intrinsic ability to cause inspiration without any stimulus. So third one is pre-Borginger complex. In the pre-Borginger complex, there are some synaptically coupled pacemaker cells. Mainly, the rhythmic respiration is initiated by these coupled pacemaker cells located in the pre-Bodginger complex on either side of the medulla between the nucleus ambiguous and the lateral reticular nucleus. Then pontine centers. Pontine centers are pneumotaxic and aneustic. Pneumotaxic centers has function to inhibit dorsal respiratory group of neurons after an interval of time. These centers transmit inhibitory impulse towards the dorsal respiratory group of neurons to inhibit inspiration. And aneustic centers. Aneustic centers are the centers which mainly increases depth of inspiration rate, and they causes prolonged stimulatory effect on dorsal respiratory group of neurons. So they can increase depth of inspiration rate but decrease rate of respiratory rate. So let's start the mechanism of nervous regulation. So first of all, pre-Bodginger complex, where mainly the synaptically coupled pacemaker cells are located, which mainly initiate the rhythmic respiration. So when an rhythmic respiration is initiated by this, from there this stimulation goes to the dorsal respiratory group of neurons. Dorsal respiratory group of neurons, they have basic rhythm, they have ability to generate basic rhythm of respiration without any stimuli. So dorsal respiratory group of neurons generate basic rhythm of respiration, then these nervous stimuli or signal transmitted to the primary inspiratory muscles. Mainly, we know inspiratory muscles are diaphragm and intercostal muscles through phrenic and intercostal nerve. They are the motor nerves of the inspiratory muscles in this case. So inspiratory signal mainly a ramp signal as it begins weakly and increases rapidly in a ramp manner for about 2 seconds and then ceases abruptly for approximately the next 3 seconds. So these motor nerve fibers, phrenic and intercostal nerve fiber, causes contraction of the diaphragm and intercostal muscles, and their combined action expand the lung and inspiration takes place. Then inspiration takes place. Pneumotaxic center, which mainly inhibit inspiration, transmits inhibitory impulse to the dorsal respiratory group of neurons to control the switch off point of the inspiratory ramp. At the same time, the stretch receptors, which are located at the lung, transmit inhibitory impulse to the dorsal respiratory group of neurons through the vagus nerve. As a result, dorsal respiratory group ceases its activity of generating rhythm of respiration, and then expiration takes place. During expiration, stress receptors become again unstressed. Inhibitory impulse from this receptor ceases. Then automatically inspiration takes place again. Inspiration and expiration continue to take place on after another at a regular interval of time and producing normal rhythmic breathing. So it is the mainly process of normal rhythmic breathing which is under control of nervous mechanism. And that's all for today.